Hello there. In this episode, I'm going to go over a hike of Hawksbill Craig, which is the most photographed spot probably in Arkansas, and then also a general winter gear selection for hiking in the Ozarks. Wintertime hikes are probably the best time, I believe, to go hiking with no bugs, less crowds, but the weather can be a little challenging. And as usual, say you want to come and just see the hike, or you want to just see the gear review, if you go down to the video description below, there's actually going to be chapters in there and you can just skip and jump to, so you don't have to watch one or the other. Or if you want to watch both, fine. First, I'm going to go over the equipment you're going to need. The weather is not that bad, but in general, we take a basic amount of gear every time we go. And I'm going to go over that right now. Okay, here I've got a backpack. And every time we go hiking, we usually take a backpack, either a small day pack, if it's a short quarter-mile hike or something like that, which I'll just take my fanny pack. But generally, if we're going to be gone for over an hour, I take a backpack. And this backpack's overkill for 99% of the stuff out there, but I carry camera equipment, and that takes up some space into here, so that's why I carry this though. But if you are going to take a backpack, a day pack, it's ideal to get one. Some of the features that are nice are, I'm going to get up here a little closer, a sternum strap. So I'll show you. So the sternum strap, just like it sounds. You can adjust it, but it keeps the shoulder straps from sliding off your shoulders. So if you're doing a lot of moving around, climbing, things like that, your shoulder straps without this sternum strap, see how they automatically pulled out because of the weight on the back? Sternum strap is just a great feature to have in a backpack. And most of these features you can go nowadays, thank goodness, you could go to Walmart and get the cheapest backpack, and it more than likely is going to have a sternum strap if it's like a hiking design pack. A lot of the Ozark trails or some of the cheaper stuff. And what's really cool about things nowadays is there's so many older products on the market of great design, name brand, hiking specific gear. You could go on eBay and get, that used to be like $100 plus backpack. You could probably pick one up for like 25 bucks. I tend to be a gear guy, and I always find these bargains, and I end up buying stuff I don't even need sometimes just because it's such a good deal. And then I'll pass it on to somebody in the family. But sternum strap, highly recommend it. What that does, like I said, is keep the shoulder straps off from coming off. And then another good feature, I don't know if you can see it on here, I call them load lifters. They're the straps, they keep so your shoulder straps should wrap around your shoulders. And then these straps right here, you can cinch them up and they kind of lift the load. Right now they're pretty much snugged up the way they need to be on this pack, but different packs, depending on how they fit you, it'll pull the frame sheet of the backpack on your shoulders, or you can loosen it out. So the back of the, like if this is your shoulder, that pack can be snugged up against or loosened up on the top section. And I'm going to loosen this really quick just to show you. Okay, these are called, I'm going to switch so you can see. So you can see now. And it kind of snugs it. You kind of fine tune the fit. And these are called load lifters. But you want the shoulder straps to curve around your shoulders. And then, I don't know if you're going to be able to see this, depending on the weight of your pack, a hip belt. For lightweight backpacks, it's not that important. You might want just an unpadded strap just to kind of keep the backpack bottom from swinging around. But if you're going to carry any weight, probably anything over 10 pounds, I would definitely go with a padded waist belt. And ideally when fitting a pack, the frames do come in different lengths because people have different like torsos. So you might see backpacks that are like small, medium, large. That's referring to the hip belt to shoulder height on those backpacks. Granted, the sizes of the volume of the pack might change a little bit, but that designation small, medium, large is referring to that torso length. And generally when fitting a pack, you want the waist belt right on your hips, and then you snug the load lifters, and then you put your sternum strap on. And then you got a great fitting pack. It also helps if you go to a store specializing in this and get fit for a pack. You can go in Arkansas, there's, I think it's called Pack Rats, great place. REI, things like that, some chains, you know, they'll fit you. Some of the you know, like if you go to like probably Walmart or something, they're not going to fit you. They're not even going to know what they're, you know, that you're talking about. So a lot of times you have to kind of play it by ear and how the things are going to fit. But like I said, you can find a good pack at a good price and it'll make time on the trail much more comfortable. The other thing that I keep in here is a small first aid kit. And I keep it in mine right here. And I just keep, it's an Adventure Medical Kits. I think this one's they have different sizes. Oops, sorry, I got it upside down. It's the Adventure Medical Kits 0.7. It just has the basics in there. It's got some tapes, some Band-Aids, you know, all kinds of different things. And it's in a nice little bag. Years ago, I bought a bunch of these and I just periodically update them because they do have like aspirins and things like that and some mild, you know, painkillers and things like that. And I keep that in there all the time. And then my backpack that I have, it's an older mountaineering pack, but it's a Chilo gear. The frame is literally just, see it better over here. Chilo gears are handmade in Portland, Oregon. When I used to live in Oregon and be big into mountaineering, that's where I got this from. The frame, I don't know if you can really see. Right there. It's literally a piece of closed cell foam folded over and then shoved in there and then Velcroed into there. What's nice about that, you can see it's kind of peeking out this other side. So worst case scenario, I have to spend the night outside. You can take this foam sheet out and sit on it and use it as a ground insulation pad because the ground is always cold. Even if you have the best sleeping bag, you're still going to be cold because the sleeping bag is going to compress. So you want some kind of closed cell foam insulation. It just makes a nice seat. You can, you know, sit down, and closed cell foam wants to bend one way and it's a little bit rigid in another direction. So worst case, you need to make a splint. You can pull this pad out and it works really good for that. So then what I always carry, and then in the top lid here, I have the first aid kit. And this is just what we take every day, every time we go hiking. Some wrappers I should clean out. Pack it out. We always take our garbage out with us. Don't litter. You know, that's one of my biggest pet peeves. But I shove it back in the pack. I usually carry a stocking cap, and usually like an orange one, even though this one's pretty faded. Just that way, in case of emergency. Snacks. And then a good headlamp. Headlamp, something, you should always have it in there. You're always going to be like, it's only going to be a 2-hour hike and we're going to be back to the car well before dark. Things happen. And the last thing is you want to be left out there without a headlamp. I mean, you got the light in your phone, but a good headlamp like this, you can just wear in your head. It lasts for hours because this one's LED and it's just so important. And that's literally it. That's on the every time we go hiking list. Wintertime, and bottles of water. That could just be literally the 16-ounce plastic ones you buy at the gas station. We have stainless steel reusable water bottles or Nalgene bottles, and I just shove a couple in the pack, close to my back, towards the bottom. But then we're going to go over clothing right now. So when you're hiking, the weather conditions can change quickly. One thing to remember, I learned this in the military and from years of also mountaineering. I'm used to being cold and uncomfortable for long periods of time, but one thing I learned was a game changer, and it makes complete sense. So say you get to the trailhead and you're unloading your car and it's a little chilly. You're gonna like put your coat on, all this stuff, and then you're gonna start hiking, and within 5 minutes, you're gonna be overheating and sweating. So dress to be a little cold initially, because you're gonna warm up quickly. And you need very little when you're hiking. So our recommendation, what we use on every single hike when it's, under 60 degrees or, less, is I usually have a base layer shirt. just a synthetic or wool base layer. There's the old saying with hiking and climbing and camping and military stuff, cotton kills. When cotton gets wet, it stays wet a long time and damp. It does not dry very quick. Synthetics like this one or wool shirts, they dry quickly, and wool will insulate even when wet. So I love wool. A lot of mine are wool blend or synthetics. The synthetic ones are cheaper, so keep that in mind. The one thing to remember with synthetics, and thank goodness this has changed recently. In the olden days, the synthetic base layer shirts like this one underneath here were polypros, polypropylene, kind of a plastic blend. They were nicknamed polypew because they would just retain body odor and just smell horrible. Like you could wear it one day and it would smell like you were wearing it for like a month. It just smelled absolutely horrible. The good news is most of these new shirts, they put some type of antimicrobial treatment to them. So if you're hiking, camping, and you're using that shirt for multiple days, they generally don't smell as bad. And then same thing with wool. Wool is naturally antimicrobial. And my choice is generally merino wool shirts. But just to give you an idea, price range. So like a merino wool t-shirt like this one would be about, unfortunately nowadays, like $50 for a t-shirt. The good news is that shirt will last you a long time. A polyester one like this, you can shop around, on eBay, find some military ones with the X silver treatment in them so they don't stink. And you can get probably for around $10 if you shop around. And it'll be just as good. The negatives though is if you're going to be by any kind of fire, the wool ones will not burn. A lot of the synthetics can melt and they can melt on your skin. So if you're worried about that, shop for some of the military specific ones that are called the no melt, no drip. They do some kind of hybrid with like wool and some other stuff so they will not melt and stick onto you. But generally hiking and stuff like that, you're not going to even have a fire or risk of fire. So I would do a synthetic base layer shirt like that. Pants, if you're just doing day hiking, it could be jeans, whatever, because I'll tell you what, cold, wet pants, I can tolerate. Cold, wet shirt in the cold, it's a little different because that's your core. I generally, for day hikes, just worry about the core. The next thing is your mid layer, kind of like what I'm wearing right now. These are those military grid fleeces, but my recommendation, and I've got one right here, I'm going to show you. I've got a couple of these in different colors, but this one, and it doesn't need to be this brand, it's just this technology. So this one is Patagonia, or as I like to say, Patagucci, because their prices are crazy expensive. But this is called the R1 hoodie. And it's actually, it has a hood on it, and it fits like a scuba hood. Okay, as you can see, my R1 hoodie's got a little bit of an athletic fit. I always call it the athletic Euro fit. When I'm hiking, I really don't, it's function over fashion. I usually wear this 99% of the time hiking when it's cold out though. Why do I love this R1 hoodie? I've had this back in my mountaineering days, and actually in the Marine Corps I had the same technology shirt, just minus the hood. Because in the Marine Corps you're generally wearing a helmet and it's a little bit different. But in the civilian world, R1 hoodie or something comparable is bar none the greatest thing ever. So what are some of the features that I love about this? Right off the bat you can see the sleeves are cut a little longer and they have built-in thumb loops so you can cover the top of your hand, which is one of the areas that loses a lot of heat. And then when you don't need it, you just pull your thumb out and pull it up. You got those on both. The other feature is this goofy zipper that zips down almost to your belly button. What that does is it helps you vent out. So when you're hiking, you can just unzip it. My favorite feature is it's the R1 hoodie. So a lot of times I'm hiking, I'll just wear a baseball cap. Protect me from the sun, keep the sun out of my eyes and all that, but my ears will get cold. I do carry a cap with, but a lot of times when you're moving, you're hiking, you don't want to stop, and your ears start getting chilled, the R1 hoodie, you just reach back, and will cover your face. So depending on how high you have the zipper, this thing protects pretty good. And without a hat on, it's like a scuba hood. It's really nice. It covers you up really good. Okay, but what is the other great feature of the Patagonia R1 hoodie or equivalent? There's a lot of similar on the market right now, but the number one feature I think that is the most important is the material. This is made out of Polar Tech grid fleece. What is grid fleece? Grid fleece, from a distance, it just has a smooth kind of shell to it, but on the inside is where the magic happens. So I'm going to try to go in here nice and close. See how the little grids? Yeah, you should be able to see that pretty good. I'm hoping my camera does justice on this. These little grids are actually soft fleece, but those little grids cut into there. What that does is when you're wearing this, it breathes like nothing. Like the wind will go right through it. So when you're out hiking, body heat, moisture, everything is just getting pulled away from your body. So you might be thinking, well, is that going to make you cold? Hold on a second. So we're going to get into that. So what this does, though, is when it's windy, yeah, the wind's going to cut right through you and you're going to get cold. But when you're moving, you're not going to overheat ever. Like I hardly ever overheat this thing. And then if it gets crazy windy, we're going to grab the next piece of equipment that I always take with. Next piece of equipment is a rain/wind shell. So what happens is then if it's that windy out, you throw the wind shell on over your R1 hoodie. And then what that combination will do then is it'll block the wind, and then that grid insulation traps even more air in there and insulates unbelievably well. But at the same time, it's pulling the moisture away from your body, and then it dries out quickly. And then if you've got a shell like this one, this one's event fabric, but you have like Gore-Tex or any of these like waterproof breathables, it will push that moisture out of the jacket through the breathable membrane because there's like a temperature differential. So the colder it is outside, the warmer it is at the body, it pushes the moisture away and it keeps you dry. So your core is always dry. And certain days when it's not that cold, but it's still really windy, I will strip off the R1 hoodie and just put the wind shell on. The wind shell will protect from the wind, and the t-shirt is enough insulation that I don't need to worry about anything else. And that's it. That's my clothing system. That and some, comfortable pants. And then I'm going to go over footwear in a second, but one last piece of clothing I do take with, but I don't really consider it my hiking clothing, I'll take this with. So this is the other piece of equipment that I will take. This one's a down puffy. You could do a synthetic puffy, some kind of insulated, really light, compressible. This thing, folds down to like a little ball like this and weighs nothing. What is the purpose of that though? So if you're hiking and it's cold, generally you won't even need that because you're moving, you've got your R1 hoodie or grid fleece hoodie, you have a wind shell to put over that, but then say you get to your destination, you want to take a break, sip some water, take some pictures, whatever. As soon as you stop moving, you're going to probably get cold. And that's when you throw that one hoodie on. You put that on, enjoy your water, take some pictures. That way it keeps you nice and toasty. And then when you get ready to start moving again, you take that hoodie, that insulated puffy hoodie, and shove it in your pack and don't wear it. You're going to probably be a little cold initially, but then once you start moving again, you'll be comfortable. And then it's also a good item because if you have an unexpected night in the wilderness, you could sleep in it. And I've got personal experience with that. I've actually, a few years back, some friends and I were climbing Mount Shasta in California, and we wanted to do it like pure alpine style. We only brought a stove to melt snow for water, some water bottles, a down puffy coat. I had a heavier one at the time, and that was literally it, and some food. Because we were going to just push through and do it all in one cool, quick ascent. And then a big snowstorm hit. We had to dig a snow cave, and I used my down puffy to sleep in. We spent the night, so things happen. That's why it's good to have that insulating layer, even if you don't think you need it. Because a lot of times when you're at the car and then you go up or you go down the mountains, the weather changes. So keep that in mind. So you've got your base layer, your mid layer of grid fleece, and then some type of wind shell. That could be anything. It could be a raincoat. It could be just a nylon windbreaker, depending on the weather. I will recommend the waterproof breathables just because they breathe well like a windbreaker, but also in the event that it does rain, they protect you from water and rain and wet, because wet, cold is not a good thing. And then the last piece of equipment, like I said, pants for short climbs, hikes, wear whatever. I mean, if you want to go out and all out, a nice pair of like soft shell pants that are synthetic, stretchy hiking pants are a way to go. And then you can do a synthetic base layer underwear. And then same thing with socks. For socks, I always recommend, as long as you're not allergic, and most people are not, because merino wool is not itchy wool, but merino wool socks. And my brand of choice, just because I've used them for the last 20 something years, is Smart Wool. I just love their socks. They're great. And I've got them in all different thicknesses because depending on the shoes. But we'll go into the footwear right now. Okay, I'm going to go into a couple different types of footwear. This is my old trusty, just old hiking boots. These things are like 20 something years old. I still use them to this day. They are great. I've had them a long time, longer than I care to admit to. But why do I love these ones? They have a rubber toe rand that protects me from like skiing loose rocks and sharp rocks, because in the Ozarks, you're going to encounter tons of that. These ones also have a Vibram lug sole that has sticky rubber. And even though these shoes are old, these ones were made in Italy, the rubber is still pretty grippy and sticky, which is important because a lot of times you're going to be on wet rocks, loose gravel, and the terrain's going to just change. I like mid tops just to protect my ankles a little bit. And then what I love about these ones also is the laces come all the way down to the toes. So if the terrain gets a little bit more technical and you got to do some climbing, you can snug it up on your toes and climb better with these. And then if it's just an easy trail, I usually loosen it up at the toes to give my toes a lot of wiggle room. And these are just awesome. The one shortcoming on these boots though is they're just suede, and if I step into water, my foot gets wet. So these are not waterproof, but I do love these shoes. The other pair of shoes that I have is very similar. It's a brand of Salua, but the other ones were Garmond. This one, very similar. It has the rubber toe rand, which kind of protects, and also if you have to do some climbing, you can get your toes in there, and it's sticky rubber. And this has the same thing. It's a Vibram, and that's another thing. If I say Vibram, somebody might be like Vibram, whatever. I say Vibram, but they make soles for everything, but their climbing shoe, hiking shoe soles are pretty good. And this one's kind of the same thing. The laces come all the way down to the toes, and these ones are just newer, and the only real difference is these have a Gore-Tex liner. So they're a waterproof, breathable liner. So I can step through small creeks and stuff as long as I don't go past the gusset in the top. These will keep my feet dry. So that's literally it for footwear. But don't think you need some expensive shoes like this, because there's plenty of hikes that we've done out here. I just wear some comfortable gym shoes that my running shoes or something like that. You could wear those. It's just depending on the terrain, and if you're going to get into it a little bit more, you may want just a good pair of hiking boots, but you don't need to go crazy. And hiking boots are the same thing. I tell people all the time, if you want a really good pair of hiking boots, go to a store that sells them, find a brand that fits you well, and then go on eBay. And you'll find somebody that has that exact size you need, more than likely, as long as you're not in a hurry. You'll find somebody that had one that they tried it on once, they wore it once, and it was the wrong size. They ordered them, and then they forgot about them, and then they're just selling them really cheap. But I just got, and then the other thing is the shoe size. I'm lucky because I wear the small size of 9, but 9 is the shoe manufacturer's display sample size. So when they make samples for businesses, they're always a 42/9, a Euro 42 or a US/9. So a lot of them are in the market are demos from stores. You can get them dirt cheap. So these are like a couple $100 pair of shoes that I didn't pay that much. And then, believe it or not, I used to work in the outdoor industry also. So I have like a lifetime supply of outdoor gear that I pro dealed, and I got humongous discounts. That's another thing. You buy some good stuff, it'll last you a long time. So, but I just bought Jenny this brand, Salua, they're mountain, I can't remember the model, like mountain trainers or whatever. They're like a $300 hiking boot. And I bought 2 pairs of them. She's a size 7, which is the women's sample size, believe it or not. So I got her a pair of low top Salua and a high top for like $80 for both pairs shipped. And they were brand new demos. Unbelievable. So, as long as you know your size, because you got to try them on, and each brand is completely different. So That's one thing, like don't just be like, oh, I wear this size and I'm gonna go buy these online on eBay, they're really cheap. You need to try them on physically first someplace and then shop online for that model, because every brand fits different. When I used to be into mountaineering, man, did I go through mountaineering boots, because it was like to find the perfect one, you have to just try them on physically. So footwear is one thing you don't want to skimp on, because you don't want to go on a hike and then get blisters like right away. And it's the same thing too. If you start the hike within the first few minutes and you notice something's wrong, stop, take a look at your foot, check your footwear, check your lacing, because there's a lot of ways you could lace a boot to adjust the fit too. And adjust right away, because otherwise it's just going to get worse and then you're going to have some foot problems. But hopefully this was helpful. And like I said, get out there and hike, because believe it or not, we met another one of our neighbors who owned some land near us, and he thought it was so cool that we moved out here and we actually go hiking, because he said so many people move out to the mountains and area where there's so many hiking areas and they don't go look at anything. And we do. That's one of the reasons we moved out here. We have farm animals. If you're new to the channel, we have farm animals, a homestead, and we really can't vacation. So we wanted to move someplace where we could be really close to hiking, climbing, and all that, and do day hikes, and then just come back home and, check on the animals and be good. But hopefully this was helpful. And now we're going to go to the hike of the, as I stated earlier, it's the most iconic hike you can do in Arkansas. There's like this actual rock formation that sticks out, and people hike out to the very edge of it, and then you get your picture from another location. And in the video, you'll see I'm filming Jenny, she's out on it, and I'm at the photo spot, and then I will let the camera roll uncut to where you go to walk out there. And then I do walk out there a little bit. I didn't walk out all the way. There was a guy there ahead of us. It wasn't a crowded day when we went there, but it was so windy. And the guy ahead of us, I was at the photo spot, and he went out there and he almost got blown over. And his friend was laughing at him. I was like, holy crap. Like, he literally almost got blown over because the wind was that bad. Like, it was these crazy gusts. And that peak, if you look at it, it's not flat in the top. It slopes forward and then it just drops off, hundreds of feet. So as you can see, Jenny didn't go very far. When I went over there, I didn't go very far. It was just so windy, but it was still so cool. And it's a great hike. The worst part about that hike is that there are no bathrooms at all near it. The approach drive is 6 miles of really steep roads that are all dirt, and there's nothing near it for at least, like, we drove an hour to get there, and there was like no bathrooms within an hour. So if you're driving further, plan ahead, because there's nothing there. No pit toilets, nothing. Unfortunately, on the trailhead, there was toilet paper and stuff on the sides of the trail. So if you need to go that route, bring toilet paper, bring a shovel, and either dig a hole or pack it out, because nobody wants to see that on the trail. But enjoy the hike. It was a good one, and it was a short one. It's 3 miles, and it only took maybe, I don't know, we had lunch out there and stuff like that, so maybe it took us a couple hours. But it was a pretty good hike, very enjoyable. And get there early, because we got there early, and we were heading back to the car around noon, and the parking lot was completely filled, and we ran into tons of people coming down the trail. So hopefully this was helpful, and get out there and hike. And if you ever any questions on hiking, climbing, camping gear, just shoot me comments. I used to be my life was outdoor industry and choosing technical equipment, clothing, and helping people outfit for, huge mountaineering trips and expeditions. And that was a big part of my life. And I still, even on day hikes, I still follow the same philosophy. So stay safe, get out there and hike. And until next time, thanks again. Yeah. Okay. See my head's a little off? End it there. Thanks. Like and subscribe. I gotta support this shirt because it was a gift, and I love it.